Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a social reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to come and share their work with us. And it's Friday again. And I I've been informed that our first reader tonight has snuck into the bathroom at work to read. So I tried to get this thing started real quick. Cletus, are you with us?
Hey guys,
Hey!
sorry, I didn't mean to cut it off. I'm just in the bathroom and this guy is like knocking on the door and stuff like that. So
Oh
yeah,
no!
I haven't been here in a while, so I wanted to listen in and also read and yeah, I miss Misery Loves Company. So yeah. Well, this first one, I guess, this is weeks after my cancellation, we have a regular sort of argument. They say if God's in his heaven, all is right with the world. Last night, our screaming fight ended when you bought a lockbox off Amazon. I ate the chocolate mint cookies your mom made you were saving for lunch today. I pray regularly. Still, I skip Lent and masturbate. Our snuggling is better when I refuse to indulge impulse. Post-dopamine cleanse, you feel like a sentient sunbeam. People tried to ruin my life, but it backfired, and now we're happier than ever. That's fine if you lock up your mother's cookies. I'm so glad to have conflict with you. We were born to fly, even if that means falling under weight of ricocheting angst. This is called Bartender. Long nights serving moods. She ordered horny and sad. I make a mean philanthropic guilt. Men can be secretly cryptids. What adorable yeti, they say. No, I don't swing that way. Behind eyes, my inner child's alive. He's learning how to fake it. I'm actually happier now as the black-shirted bisexual of some Olive Garden. More time for crying in my elbow. Love also comes easier when your life explodes again. I created a drink called Cowardice Almost Always Feels Good. And that's all I have. Thank y'all for listening in.
Cletus, man, this is fantastic. These are fantastic. First of all, it's nice to have you back, man. I love like the first poem, and I love the way that it's framed as a kind of return to normalcy, but it's not a like a purely sweet return to normalcy. Like the idea that mundane day-to-day conflict is somehow like is something that you would become nostalgic for during some like online cancellation bullshit is a really it's a really good idea, and it really like the idea that any kind of like real human interaction is preferable to being fed through the social media meat grinder. And the details in both of these poems are like just like so like sweet and so perfectly tuned. I love the idea that the argument is about like his mother, that like cookies his mother gave him, and just all those small details of like human interpersonal interaction and the way that they like ground the piece and the way they like serve as a reminder that even the ugly facets of real life, of real tangible life, are like more profound and more worth it than like the biggest cloud of online bullshit. It's really good. I love the second poem too. There are so many good turns of phrase in the second poem. I love the Olive Garden line. I love the cryptid line. The the like the like different like emo cocktail names and stuff. It's all really good stuff, man. It's all excellent as usual. I'll let you leave the bathroom now. I apologize to the guy who's trying to take a shit on my behalf.
Oh no,
Okay.
go! Fuck that guy. What an asshole. but yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, thank y'all so much. Thanks, William, as always. I'll see y'all maybe next week.
See you, man. Have a good one.
Bye.
So, all right. So we have somebody in the waiting room called Nazi porn fetishist. Now, that seems almost like that seems almost too troll to be a troll. Should we let him in or not? Who's reading next?
I'm gonna guess that that might be Jan. I don't know. Is it because of the comments something Jan said the other night about Nazi piss porn or something? What was
Oh, maybe. Someone
I
said
don't know.
be Gigi. I'm letting him in.
Could be that too. Yeah.
But Rudy, do you mind reading next just in case this guy like turns out to be an actual like porn bot?
Sure. I don't care. Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me.
I don't want to
Things straightened
Peter was up next, but I don't want to feed Peter into that meat grinder if it turns into like
up.
into actual Nazi porn.
Okay,
Fuck
thank
yeah.
you.
Okay. Let me just grab my thing here. Actually, you know what I might do?
Uh-huh.
Since I did have an OJ, I have one piece to read. But I did want to get the OJ thing in too. So I'm gonna have OJ Simpson read something from the grave, from beyond the grave,
All right.
and then I'll do my piece after that.
Gotcha.
So this is Dream Song 29, by way of OJ Simpson. Let's see if I can share this here. Oops, this is my Zoom thing. Oh, there it goes. All right, I'm gonna share my screen now. Fuck yeah.
There sat down once a thing on Henry's heart so heavy, if he had 100 years and more, and weeping sleepless in all them time Henry could not make good. Starts again, always in Henry's ears, the little cough somewhere, an odor, a chime, and there is another thing he has in mind, like a grave Sienese face. 1,000 years would fail to blur the still profiled reproach of, ghastly with open eyes he attends, blind. All the bells say, too late, this is not for tears, thinking, but never did Henry, as he thought he did, end anyone, and hacks her body up and hide the pieces where they may be found. He knows he went over everyone and nobody's missing. Often he reckons in the dawn them up. Nobody is ever missing. I could be a...
Rest in peace to the Jews.
F's in the chat for the juice, everyone.
Fucking F. Now I'm gonna read some piece that I wrote. Let me drop it in the chat here. Let's see.
Oh, I dropped it in the chat before. I've got it up.
Okay. Oh, you got it in the chat. Okay. Cool. Sick. All right. So this one is called Kill Rudy Johnson Part 2, and I'm gonna read this on my cell phone. So let me pull that up on there. Okay, done coughing. So this piece is called Kill Rudy Johnson Part 2 for Rohan. Captain Singh was sleeping in her cryo bed, peeing through a tube and breathing through another tube. Today was her birthday, and her crew wanted to wake her to say happy birthday, and also to inform her that the generation ship she had been charged with navigating to the nearest habitable star, fuzzy, spooky language, was no longer under her control, or anybody's control. It was careening, actually, out of control, into a black hole. As the ship approached the dead star's event horizon, The crew had long passed the event horizon of pure hopelessness. At this point, even if someone wanted to give a goddamn, that goddamn would be bent like space-time in a gravity well. And well, that meant days, hours, seconds spent doing exactly nothing. The majority of people masturbated. Some Nintendo'd away the ennui, switching between pouting and power blocks. Sad fucking shit. Meanwhile, Captain Singh was locked in her mind castle, running an ancestor simulation of her personal brain interface. Captain Singh had been in the simulation for like a year. Captain Singh didn't give a fuck, much less a goddamn, even a bent one. The avatar of Captain Singh in Simland was a 21st century retard boy named Rudy Johnson. Although the details of her simulation experience were private, by default, confined to her unnetworked brain chip, Captain Singh didn't keep them private because she was an oversharer. People on the ship knew the name Rudy Johnson intimately because the last time Captain Singh was awake, he did nothing but talk about Rudy Johnson. Rudy Johnson's childhood, Rudy Johnson's doting mom, Rudy Johnson's alcoholic dad, the church Rudy Johnson vandalized during an episode, the episode of X-Files Rudy Johnson's mom didn't like, etc., etc., etc. Fucking A. And on, and on, and on. Hearing about Rudy Johnson was a goddamn chore for everybody by this point. Rudy Johnson was nearly as much of a fuck-up as Captain Singh, which made sense because she was his descendant. Who knows how a fucking moron like Rudy Johnson even bred to continue a family line? It was probably rape. Who fucking cares? Anywho, the crew wanted to give the captain birthday wishes. They needed to have her awake so that she could go down with the ship. That was a tradition after all. And for this to happen, they needed to bring her out of that darn simulation. But they couldn't just pull her out of her little coffin, pull her clothes off like an Ayatollah, and sit her up, as much as crewman Doug had talked about doing that. They couldn't do that because waking someone from simulation-induced cryosleep was stupidly complicated for stupid reasons that made people hate the fact that such a tech was invented. It really only gave a dumbass misanthrope like Captain Singh a way to shirk their duty on the ship, a way to hide in the shadows of an objectively shittier past while hitting the grief bong all day. The wrinkles on her face acted like an emotional Fitbit for her simulation runtime experience. She definitely wasn't having fun in there. This was largely because Rudy Johnson was an anti-fun near retard fucking loser living below the poverty line on his dead dad's crumbling estate. But Captain Singh didn't run ancestor simulations for fun or enlightenment. She ran them to eviscerate herself. Because the implants wouldn't let her do anything self-destructive in meat space, she had to go into Simland to self-flagellate. Shit. Captain Singh, the type of bitch, suck a nigga's dick and cry the rest of the night. Captain Singh, the type of bitch, harboring her great-great-great-grandmother's not-so-great issues. Captain Singh, the type of bitch, finna spend 5 years in a simulation, but won't spend 5 minutes down at navigation verifying coordinates. Captain Singh, the type of bitch to read trashy romance shit, but can't read a room. Captain Singh, the type of bitch to cause problems by proxy like Munchausen in a chaotic medical environment. Captain Singh, the type of bitch to have her shitty personality stolen and wholly absorbed by the onboard AI who was like, yo, I could be Shodan or even Hal, but them niggas were too relatable. The crew held a punitive referendum proposing the honor rape of Captain Singh because some things still mattered, apparently. 6 votes against, 9 for, but who's counting? Certainly not the ship's AI. Crewman Doug led the motion, saying he wanted to, quote, put the motion in her ocean. But they wanted her to be awake and alive when they did it. Nobody wanted to rape a dead girl, despite Crewman Doug quoting that line from Ninja Scroll whenever he was in female company, or alone in his bunk, or in the mixed gender bathroom. They needed to terminate the ancestor simulation. In order to hasten Captain Singh's wake-up, the crew had to do the very much thinkable. They had to kill Rudy Johnson. In the simulation world, crewman Orthink, the med tech, carefully utilized a bidirectional trepanning drill to make a small hole in Captain Singh's head. To avoid fucking up the cryo sleep routine, Nurse Orthink had to snake the drill through the cryobed's waste disposal unit and out a section of the captain's P catheter before boring into her brain, which was an insanely skillful and dubiously sanitary maneuver. This bought the crew hardware access to the brain interface chip, but somebody who was good with computers would still be needed in order to hack into Simland. Wait, that's not true. It's like the 50th century, someone realized. The onboard AI's streamlined large language model thingamajig could do it for them. It was as simple as entering a prompt. Can you show us the easiest way to kill Rudy Johnson? Through the magic of machine learning, all the little knobs and dials of Rudy Johnson's so-called simulated life were revealed to them. Rudy Johnson was having a really rough time. There were Sims living worse lives in Simland, to be sure, but Rudy Johnson was definitely not living it up, as the Ja Rule song goes. He was feeling rejected by friends and family. He was living like every line of the song institutionalized by suicidal tendencies, besides the ones where the dude actually gets locked away. Speaking of that, one Earth Day, Rudy Johnson got really exasperated and went to check himself into a mental health facility. Crewman Domona said, "Watch this shit," and bit flipped the beds available variable from 1 to 0. The crisis center operator said, "Damn, there were 4 beds available this afternoon, but now there aren't any. Sorry." Rudy Johnson went back to his house, a ballroom for rotund mice, and called the Pigfucker Hammurabi House Stealer Loan Company to see if he could rehab his failing mortgage. Crewman Doug said, "Hold my beer," addressing no one in particular because he neither drank nor had the social currency to expect anyone to warmly condone his imagined alcoholism. He then proceeded to put words in the mouth of the mortgage company agent in the simulation. "Hello, this is Rohan Kumar, and I am from the Punjab or wherever. I will now take your mortgage queries." Doug said this in a very bad, very dumb accent, and it wasn't funny. The agent was really rude to Rudy Johnson. Not rude exactly, but unhelpful. Oblivious. Doug's interjections, which he mostly made to be funny and lewd, turned Rohan into a joke that went beyond the pale, or beyond the brown, I guess. It made this poor guy into an ethnic voice dub, turned to 11, then 12, then 13. A racist stereotype with the speakers blown. Some on the crew objected to this. Crewman Lakshmi said, "You fucking retard, Doug. Your sublimely over-the-top racism is making this dude seem like a cartoon caricature from Rudy Johnson's own mind. It's going to combine with Rudy Johnson's ideas of reference and make him feel like God or the universe or whatever is fucking with him. That's going to push him over the edge. He'll just go out and do another half-assed act of religious terrorism and get forcibly committed instead of hanging himself in his room like we want him to." But Lakshmi was wrong. Rudy Johnson held a perfectly sane conversation with his mortgage advisor, then punched 3 big holes in the drywall and 1 in the door. Later, Rudy Johnson went to the Chateauguay Bridge, intending to take his own life by jumping off because he was feeling extreme pain and frustration. Captain Singh cried tears of schadenfreude ecstasy, feeling it all like she was the title of an early 2000s Feist track. Rudy Johnson got up on the railing. Crewman Reginald said, "I got this," and adjusted the wind velocity variable from 70 to 100 in order to give Rudy Johnson a little shove. But Rudy Johnson was 275 pounds from years of overeating and eschewing exercise to write stupid confessional sci-fi stories. So this didn't knock him into the water below. It actually just made him mildly cold, which made him get off the rail and trudge back to his car for a coat, because Rudy Johnson is nothing if not a big pussy. In no time, the police showed up and hauled Rudy Johnson to the Alice Hyde Medical Facility to wait for a psychiatric bed that probably didn't exist. Lucky Rudy Johnson. It was about this time that the crew's use of ChatGPT-9 started to really bite them in the ass. Now, for a big reveal that's comparable to the reveal that happens on those rare mornings when Rudy Johnson can actually see his own dick poking out in front of his bloated McDonald's gut. The ship's AI, which as mentioned, had taken on the personality of Captain Singh, had actually started manipulating the simulation to push back against the efforts of the crew. Traitorous crew, the hypocritical, jealous crew, the crew that hated this woman so much that it wanted to sexually assault her for revenge. Yeah, that crew. That crew had unwittingly given the onboard AI access to the captain's brain chip through their desire to do things the easy way, and now this white knight of ones and zeros was protecting her, or maybe just enabling her bleak safari as a form of its own Schadenfreude, who can say? Let me just take a minute here to pretend I'm an AI detractor writing with a bug up my ass. If the crew had just used some elbow grease and learned C the hard way, instead of outsourcing their tasks to evil lazy bones contraption that's responsible for killing the planet like Shinra, well, maybe they would have been able to kill Rudy Johnson and get him to kill himself. Maybe they could have woken the slumbering captain and taken her right there on the floor, but nope, they had to use prompt foo. And now an AI, with all of its human-provided biases, was running roughshod in the world we humans created to venerate our ancestors. And now that it had Rudy Johnson right where it wanted him, in custody, the beds available variable mysteriously flipped from 0 to 1. Eureka! Rudy Johnson went from stammering in some hospital lobby to the crisis center to the Ogdensburg Psychiatric Care Facility where he could get the help he needed. Just kidding. He was actually handed over to a largely uncaring and sociopathic staff, which was headed by a pair of evil shrinks named Elon and Sam. This strangely referential detail was lost on Rudy Johnson, however, as the state of New York, with a little help from some state tracking variables, sealed the deal on his clinical incarceration. He would be doped up with haloperidol for years and kept in a state of physical and mental disrepair, just lucid enough to ambulate around furiously, but too far gone to give even a fraction of a bent goddamn. His life was a void, and he could see nothing but Vanta Black in the distance. The ship containing Captain Singh and her crew and the thought form of Rudy Johnson slipped into the theoretical grave, and unfortunately, no one was able to kill Rudy Johnson. Rudy Johnson told a psychiatrist about the void and how it was getting wider and depthier. Notice this, Elon said. Finally, Rudy Johnson thought, everything is black like me.
Oh man, holy shit, man. This is, man, even on a conceptual level, this is fucking brilliant. I love the way that you like took the premise of your poem, which was already great, and you've like reworked it into this like into this deeply self-referential sci-fi story. I love the entire fucking conceit of these futuristic dudes like trying to kill you and failing, like not and failing in ways that make the world worse, right? And that's the like real brutal bleak joke here is that it'd be one thing if they like tried to kill you and accidentally ended up making your life better, but it gets at like and it does get at the way that like deep depression feels, which is like, no, shit is too bad for the universe to just be like completely indifferent to me. Like there has to be actual malice at play here.
There's somebody there trying to do something. Yeah, that's right.
In a pure like because like there's like a level of deep suicidal depression where you're like, if the universe was truly indifferent to me, I would just be dead. But the fact
Yeah.
that I'm continuing is like a sign that I'm in some kind of malicious contraption, that I'm being run around in a maze or something. And the way you execute on it here is great because like it's funny, but it never the whole piece is like carefully balanced between like being hilariously funny and being like deeply profoundly sad, and you never let it tip over completely to one side or the other. You like keep the audience in this state of deep like discomfort, which is like is so perfect for a piece about Schadenfreude, right? Like because you're experiencing that same kind of sickly sensation, or where you're fascinated, but you're also like, I shouldn't be. And it's just so I don't know, just and I do love the concept. I love the concept a lot. And I love how it just keeps getting like darker and darker and more perverse, you know?
Oh yeah, thanks, man. It's actually there's a Peter Watts story called The Freeze Frame Revolution, I think it's what it's called. It's about like a crew of a ship. I think it's a generation ship going against this AI that's trying to like hurt them or something, and they have to secretly go around the AI and do all this other shit. So I thought, well, what if they just hand it to the fucking AI and just by accident, it's just
And what if they're profoundly incompetent too?
incompetent, yeah, or just don't care, they just don't give a shit at this point. So it's like, well, you're going into a black hole. What are you gonna fucking do? Like, I mean, there's nothing really
Right.
to be done at that point. So that's what depression, it's like, yeah, going into a black hole. It's like you can't do anything anyway. So who fucking gives a shit? That's
Yeah, no,
the real feels. But I'm glad you mentioned the Schadenfreude thing, because there is like, I guess, layers of Schadenfreude, because you got the idea of like the simulation, but the captain is in the simulation to feed off of Rudy Johnson's pain. And then the AI is feeding off of her pain, because it's like, well,
right. And
she's in pain.
the
The
crew
crew
just
wants
wants
to,
her to suffer too. And
right, yeah, but
yeah,
yeah,
no, it really is. It's like nested, right? It's like
like
this
in
nested exploitation story. And
that's like
Rudy
Inception.
Johnson's at the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much how it is. But thanks,
Yeah.
man. Thanks
No,
everyone in the
it's
chat.
great stuff, man. You should keep this going. You should just keep like coming up with permutations on Kill Rudy Johnson. I want to. I would.
Well, this one was actually based on a tweet that I made it was a while ago. It was like, well, what if like you know, I'm just some dude who's the captain of a generation ship, and like people were trying to get me to wake up uh by making my life worse and worse. So that was the whole concept there. But yeah.
All right, thanks, man. And Peter is up next.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm going to read my 4 misery tourism poems. 2 are recent, 2 are from a couple of years ago. The first one I should mention, the first one I'm inspired to read by Williams The Passion from a couple of weeks ago, which I really loved. So I thought this might be, I don't know, a good place to read it. This is called Suicide Mission. Launched from the womb of his father, Christ has no choice in the matter, must be assembled along human lines, just as we have no say in being born. It happens. And in his case, like a mudslide from the stars, falling into holiness as one might a pit. Yet the maneuvering inverts. Rather than redemption of the race he joins, the divine suffers the boils and blisters of humanity, its eruptions of corruption. Father is aghast at what is wrong. So while little boy slings the gospel, he plots his expiration, tries various natural methods. Drowning is one of them, but meets only failure. The fleck of himself he allowed to break free, to become earthly, thrives in a place it shouldn't, like a cyst of glory, like some beautiful filth. Finally, he comes to realize only rats can cannibalize a rat. The people whom tiny Jesus would save rend him with their tools and their apathy and their greed. And so he cries out to the Lord, whom he both serves and is. Father greets him with the hatred he deserves for all dying folks, crowning him with indifference and honoring him with the myth that salutes the myth maker. This next one is called You wouldn't, would you? When it comes upon him, he's struck by the old-timey cartoon swoon of it all. There are no visions of killing them down naturalistically, of destroying their bodies while shock floats up to push out their eyes and cheekbones and platysmal fault lines into full relief, at least not in any way that resembles reality. No struggle, no slipping on blood slicks, no errant slashes on his own hands or forearms as he's been led to expect from all the footage he's consumed and consummated. He owns a shotgun, and a couple of times, yeah, the roar and the inversion of the internal, the moist puppet look of everything, that is something he can imagine. But he's never prepared for how the fantasy takes playful flight, shows him jaggedly jigging, bearing handy axes in the lined up skulls, prancing, really. One knee high, one knee low, then repeats, hidey-ho. Or, in another cued formation, this one back to front, he slices the necks in one fluid razzmatazz, like a floor gymnast with a pretty ribbon. In another, he shoots into their skulls from behind their kneeling poses, like he's cheating at some county fair, the way he's walking the line behind the targets, taking his sweet time, watching them resist not at all. Still, all the hurdy-gurdy melodies, the simplified color schemes, they're also juvenile, and that makes him so happy. They can't be serious fantasies of brutalizing his many rickety enemies, he tells himself. Can't be precursory. No reason to self-report out to warn the community that doesn't know him. No reason to break apart its unawareness. You'd never imagine such things, I know. Don't worry, I know. One knee high, one knee low, then repeat, hidey-ho. This next one is called the plural of asphyxia. Those who make you breathe against your will. The silent worker bees crawling each membrane, dancing to no music until the dance becomes old and jolty, a heightened clarity of the human lowlands. You watch the butchering with the keenness, so that's how it's done. Eyes watching the world moments ago, now the same as legs, as lungs, heaps of hardened water, now the same as softened bones. Soaking up the smells of the essential, it strikes you. Life is a limited time offer, drowning with each gulp of wind forced into you. The violins inhaled as they scale the octaves, halved by a single stroke that ends in air. And this last one is called Happy Wildcard Weekend, everyone. In someone's head? How silly of them. The vocalizations were in the inanimate, the non-pulsating. And mostly what they were saying when you boiled it all the way down was, we're falling toward the sky, he explains, but they just want to give him more ovoid tablets to make him sleepy, arrested in a permanent drowsy, save for all the others who may be accidentally thinking about him. They always request a history of chemicals that have been donated into her body thusly, but of course she can't remember. It's been an arena of fluid matters counterfluxing each other, hobnobbing inside her head box, which is really just a window box bursting with off-brand poppies, which is really just a jewelry box, each lacquered layer holding those shiny, tiny comestibles that will bite every inch of your slippery tenders from the inside. Was join us. Time to get up, they say, rise and shine, rinse and shame. We'll help you adjust to your own useless divergence so you don't upset any of the ones, including yourself. But all she wants is upset. All she deserves are these tipping seconds before time teeters and splashes, a break from the demands of hominids, a looking sideways at their world, the built-up signifiers of secondhand desires and fastidious mud. He'll not get this respite, he knows. And so the great feather pestle begins to crush him back into the flickering dust he always was. That's it.
Peter, those were wonderful. Of course, I like these poems. We've published 2 of them already, and we've accepted the other 2 for publication. So yeah. So undoubtedly, I like these poems. First of all, though, one thing that like an odd little bit of serendipity here is how well some of these poems pair with the piece that Rudy just read, especially the first poem. There's not that much difference between a malicious god trying to contrive of a way to kill his son, and the AI simulation trying to kill Rudy Johnson.
Yep.
And it's the same kind of situation where you take a narrative that should be benign, right? That should be benign or uplifting, and you turn it into something malevolent. And there's a lot of that in these poems. There's a lot. One thing about your work, and I may have said this before, is you are really fantastically adept at subverting the reader's expectations, at taking narrative hooks where they may expect, where the reader has a certain set of expectations, where they think they know what the outcome is, and entirely subverting that and offering them something that isn't just the opposite, but something that's profoundly different with its own intellectual and philosophical implications. And you really do that wonderfully in the first poem. It is such you have rewritten the Christ story so completely in a way that changes its emotional resonance wonderfully.
Wow. I appreciate that. I mean, you told me something similar to that, and I appreciated it then. But then, as I said, because I was unfamiliar with it, but after a couple of weeks ago, getting familiar with the Passion, I was like, wow, I now doubly appreciate that compliment coming from you, because I didn't know that this, I didn't know that you wrote about any of these themes, or
Yeah.
Let alone, as well as you do, obviously. So,
Yeah,
thank you. Yes.
No, yeah, absolutely, Peter. No, I was, I think, trying to do something similar in that story as well, which is you have this familiar narrative, right? Everyone, especially anyone with a religious upbringing, but even outside of that, even people with secular upbringings, think they know this narrative. They have a really firm idea for what this is, how it plays out, and what it quote unquote means, right? And I was
Right.
Yeah, in that piece, I was really trying to subvert that as well and be well, let's take some of these characters and how would it actually have felt in this moment? What are the different ideologies at play here, and what are the different? Anyway, I'm rambling about my own work now. But Peter,
No.
yeah, no, and I think you do something similar in the plural of asphyxia poem as well, where you turn air, right? This life-giving thing, the central idea.
Hello.
Oh, here here we go. I let a few people in, perhaps foolishly.
You've been doing these for a while.
Goodbye. So anyway, I think you do something similar in the plural of asphyxia, where you completely undermine and subvert the way we think about even air itself, this thing that's central to human existence, that's central to human life, becomes this thing that's suffocating in and of itself, and life becomes this thing that's suffocating.
Sorry. Yeah. No, you're right. I totally. Yeah. Everything you're saying makes sense. I think I lost touch with what that poem was about, so you just kind of brought it back to me a little bit. That's what it was about when I wrote it, and
Yeah, I'm about to blow.
yeah. but thank you. Sorry. I can't keep a
that was
coherent thought here. Yeah.
that
Anyway.
person was pretending to be Cat, but it's fully believable that Cat would have actually done that. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, thank you again.
Thank you, Peter. These are fantastic poems, and I'm glad I waited to let those couple of people in until you finished reading.
I appreciate great timing. Okay, thanks again.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks, man. And Jeff is up next. I'll put
All
that.
right, let me just get my composure after.
Hopefully none of them are left. If they are, I'll try to nuke them as quickly as possible.
It's all good. So, yeah, maybe I should just preface this first one I'm going to read just a little bit. So, I was looking on YouTube and there was a video, something to the effect of, it was like modern dating, what boomers need to know. It's kind of a viral video, and it's kind of this young chap talking about the current dating climate, let's say. So this isn't a response to that or anything like that. I just felt like saying that that's, I sat down after and kind of was inspired by it in some totally abstract way. So anyway, and the title is cringe. So it's called 2024 Play. Sleeping on the floor of your New York loft, in the bedroom with the paint flaking off the walls, thinking of the sex that radiator saw, all the fucking that took place here since 1934. The Johns presenting new lingerie to the ladies of the night, the leather chap ass slap gay 1985 cocaine nights, heroin impotence fights, and overdosing foam frothing latte nights. Tinder dinner payer blowjob sucking off the Discord chat. Knights of armor, Jew Seder. Put a banana in the butthole for the camera. Intimacy just ain't what it used to be. Back when a woman was walked like a dog, no one cared if they fertilized the lawn. Rocco beat up Gina after walking out on Saturday Night Fever. Not to mention Woody Allen's Connecticut Secrets. What comes next? Robot dicks? Oh, they already got that, boomer. Give me the wand, princess, or the rabbit in my crack. Give me the rainbow back. Video games were meant for children, Dad. Divorce mom and get a Harley and a hot dog in New Hampshire on Sunday. Ride in July. Have fun picking hundreds of mosquitoes out of your dentures, Pop, because they sure still fuck. Your lungs still get fiberglass from the cigarette butts, and there's something wrong with your nuts. Mom ate too much cake during the pregnancy with you. Won't even eat a sweet tart this one. Mommy drank from the plastic bottles, reading The Joy of Sex, a book. Do you know what that is? A little sexy something she found out of a box at the church tag sale. Father Aaron took her nickel. Next thing you know, they were playing Naked Twister in the basement. See how easy it is, kids? Take what you want and leave the rest. That's what played on the radio. That's how it works. What? Sex. This next one I titled My Sponsor, the Chainsaw Artist. My sponsor quit me after I told the meeting that my higher power was Taylor Swift. I wasn't joking. She kept me sober. Who was the sponsor to judge? She was a former lingerie model turned homeschooling mom and herbalist. Her hobby was chainsaw artistry. She'd carve a cross out of a stump on my front lawn when I first gave recovery a try. I had to look at that thing every morning. Last time I relapsed, I thought of nailing my neighbor's poodle to it. I'm probably going to back over it someday, drunk on red wine, weed, and codeine. This thought makes me happy. Her higher power is oak and pine, whether she admits it or not, far higher than Jesus. She can't hear it in Taylor's voice the way I do. She can't admit when you quit the drugs and the drink, your problems don't magically go away. You are just the same asshole without anything to help you through the bullshit. You're a boring and broke, just as before, only feeling more aware of it and facing it raw. You gain weight. Mouthwash tastes like shit water. Nothing makes you any healthier. In fact, those carbs not being there make you sick. You can't deal with dummies because your brain grows back and starts up again with the anti-Semitism after looking into who took your money and ruined the good society. My sponsor hates the 1950s. Can't even look at a Norman Rockwell painting. She thinks he is nothing compared to the chainsaw art community. All's fair in love and poetry. That was negative. This last one, I apologize if it's a little long, but it's called Coors. Okay, right index finger in the asshole and down. Tug, tug, tug. This is for anxiety. 1 teaspoon sea salt mixed in half a cup of warm water. Stir, gargle, swallow. This stimulates your gut biome, ending inflammation within the body, a common symptom of trauma. There's no link between serotonin and depression. Prozac, Wellbutrin, Paxil, lock up the steak knives. Pfizer is door dashing us some KFC tonight. Let me hit the blunt. Lobotomy, ketamine, Holocaust survivors selling ayahuasca, prefrontal cortex, yacht clubs, AI heart attack. My mood necklace turned purple. Hold up a phone book to your forearm. Stand still. I'm going to show you chi. Fall across the room. The hypnotist made your mother drink urine on stage. Let's get down on our backs. Raise your legs up on the wall as so. Blood flow to the amygdala. This cures trauma. Pet the dog. Buy it a little tuxedo. It wants to shit and eat your upper GI. World War II never thought about rescuing no Jews. Nothing more than a side mission in Far Cry 5. Let me smell your brain. Inhaling the Thanksgiving turkey or the leftover fish and chips. Tell me about your art, the diaries that your brothers found, the things that are inside your skull, protected in the golden fortress. Let's eat some pie together, a slice of lemon meringue, a coffee from Cuba, puking into a Bible, burn in someone's hell because of what you did. Sit upright and reach over your head with your right arm. Press the area under your left ear and open your jaw. Rub down at a 45-degree angle. Open your judgmental sinuses. Let it flow down your esophagus. This too heals trauma. Rub the top of your rib cage. Stimulate the nerve endings, the blockage of your chi energy. Do not ejaculate for 1 month. Save the vital energies. Remove the paper of 1 clove of garlic. Insert the clove in your anus. Sit in the lotus position, smoke cannabis, and read poetry for 48 hours with a black blanket over your head, total darkness, and then awake. Lemon water, 1 pint a day, according to Auntie. A hot dog and mac and cheese is all she gave me when I was 3 in that trailer near the railroad tracks. The white trash skate park was sunny. I'm hungry, said no one in LA. Scraping wet organs from the baked pavement. How can one do comedy here? Laughing like a retard, panic attacks backstage at the concert. I want to be remembered as an exit. Then there is the seasoning, some herbs de Provence, and 50 milligrams pink salmon salt sprinkled on the meat every day in my bedroom, slapping my grandmother's jeans in the face, playing violin on my wrist with a razor blade. And then all of a sudden I learned to play. And that fucking salt made everything faster. Thank God for these Thanksgiving blessings. Take your frustrations out on a snare drum, sell blood on the street from a jug in Los Angeles. Build a temple devoted to therapy. Someone read a book about adrenaline, eat local squirrel lard, honey from Puerto Rican bees, meat, suck the protein from the environment, sear your mother's diary, cast iron history, break the rules of cooking, grill your fingernails. If you are out in the night in trouble, I'll bring you Uber Eats, some mushrooms and sauce. I'll let you drink mead brewed at the holiest monastery. Wear my jersey made out of my ancestors' hair. Eat mixed nuts nightly. Drink 1 pint of lemon water half hour before bedtime. Do not gargle in the morning. Drink water and swallow the bacteria that grew in your teeth the night before. Swallow the earth. Run for 20 minutes. Shave not armpits nor beaver. Eggs in the morning. 1 glass of red wine daily. Strapped into a roller coaster. 25 milligrams of Zoloft. Killing my mother in a McDonald's parking lot. 25 milligrams of Haldol. Ode existence. 25 milligrams Ritalin. Fibers of the table dissertation. Endless. 25 milligrams mother. Suckle and hug, red Matchbox cars, water from the well, stopping asshole foundations, feeding applesauce to the voiceless, the horse. Eagle stew recipe, braised meat, half a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, half a teaspoon salt, 1 bay leaf, 2 teaspoons cod liver oil, 1 beef bouillon, 1 jalapeno pepper, 1/4 pounds goat cheese, 2 teaspoons relish. Consciousness to taste. Walking barefoot on a highway, yelping, coconut milk. Should have wrote more poetry. Oh, some more fertilizer for the neighbor's rhododendrons. Arteries of the earth. Ashes are nitrogen. All right, that's it.
Jeff, those were wonderful. I would pay to see that last poem read to Tao Lin and get his response to it.
It's gonna
No.
cure his autism.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like the perfect ode to snake oil. Like all of the like home remedies and nonsense cures that we cook up. But it's so poetic in the way it's presented, like because it's so rooted in the reality of that trauma that we can't escape, right? It's not simply like a list of goofy home remedies and snake oil like cures. It's all of that, and all of those parts of the poem are incredibly funny and incredibly clever, but it's all wound up in this larger knot of like human pain and human trauma and the desire to escape that. And the way that you do it here, like the way that's woven together, I think is really effective. and both beautiful and hilarious. Now, I love the first poem too, and I love the way the first poem opens. So like reflection on how much like sad and fucked up sex this radiator in the Airbnb has seen over the course of its like 80 years of life. Because that like it has, it's that radiator is profoundly traumatized, you know, and the way that the like poem then becomes this like larger comic meditation on dating when you're older, and like it's just all really effective. I love the line about the mosquitoes. Like that is so fucking scathing. Like at least the mosquitoes are still having sex or whatever. That is it's so scathing and it's so funny, and that entire piece is so scathing and so funny. The chainsaw artist poem is really fucking good. It's really fucking good because it's like superficially so funny. I love the moment like where your narrator is like fantasizing about nailing the poodle to the cross that's supposed to be this like this icon that's supposed to lead him towards sobriety. Like all of those moments are really great. The concept itself is like wonderfully absurd. But there's so much fucking sadness below that like superficially comic surface. There's so much here about like what it's like to struggle with drugs and alcohol, and like the profound despair that drives someone in that direction. But it's so funny at the same time that it never like goes you never like go careening into that void, and it never just becomes complete despair and darkness. So these are great pieces, Jeff, and it's good to see you back again, man.
Thanks, Will. Yeah. I think I always envisioned that radiator to be in like the Chelsea Hotel or something, and that those dank old rooms.
Right.
And I think the snake oil, is like this whole TikTok therapy, which it's okay, but man, a lot of that's it is snake oil stuff. So I see it all the time, and it kind of like, obviously I'm biased, so it bugs me out a little, but
Sure.
made it into art, which is, I guess, a good thing.
Definitely a good thing. Definitely. And no, some of the stuff is absolutely nuts. Some of the stuff that I've heard, and even some of the stuff that circulates like on Twitter as I was making fun of Tao Lin a little while ago, but like he's a small like drop in the larger ocean of just like insane snake oil shit that's supposed to cure your depression or your anxiety or your autism or your whatever. But people don't want to just like live with pain, I guess. Who can blame them, I suppose. Thank you, Jeff. And Colton is up next.
Hello.
Hey, Colton, how's it going?
Good. I'm at my friend Lily's place. She's making burgers? Burgers. So I'm fighting. We were in the park today because the weather was really nice. We drank some blueberry Moscato and played some Rummy Cube, and I'm getting it together. So,
That sounds really wonderful.
anyways, so tonight you got the link. Okay. I'm reading a piece that got published through Reef Thrill. It's a new online publication that Jonna runs, and she does really good work with the collages that they do and the pieces they pick for Reef Thrill. So, but I'll do that one, and then the next one is a piece that I wrote that was like it started before the eclipse, then it was during the eclipse, then after the eclipse. So the first one, this one is like a year old. I started writing this after I finished Abuser. Um, and I just like with Abuser, the first piece is about Genesis, and so this one's Exodus. So I don't know. I was feeling a kick. So, anyways, this piece is called Prescription Chinese Gooseberries or The Anatomy of an Exodus. People really don't like to turn left on Poplar when it rains, do they? Truth is, I hurt people, and sometimes I can't live with myself. And in this life, I don't see how God could create something like me. But the truth is, I hurt people, and sometimes I can't live with myself. There's always struggle. Men brandishing and sharpening machetes, chasing after sleepless soldiers sprinting through a dark forest. I say there's nothing quite like witnessing harriers hashing about and hearing the sounds of heavy heads bashing one out. In the city, loose youth limbs are scattered along Cooper Street. A baby bird carcass is hanging by its broken leg, caught in a twisted off piece of above ground cable wire hanging right below the nest. I notice the feathers separated, beak decayed, skull fragmented. Time magazine reports excessive sex and violence, failed synaptic rehabilitation, and unsuspecting neonatal termination. noon, listening to The Exploited, going out to rent The Exorcist, reading about Operation Gatekeeper. Take out my tongue and suspend it in revenge. Blackberry dropped into a pile of small rocks. Red clover mites trek across wide sidewalks. Drunkenly escorted out by restaurant security. Why the fuck can't we sing along to Blondie? Canines click together in the waiting room. Patient demise. Going home for late night leather couch entertainment. Time for lemon icebox pie. Don't forget to wash it all down with the Amaro Montenegro and cyclobenzaprine. Reminiscing. The closest I'll get to feeling a Coke drip is the throat kick of biting into a fully absorbed Plymouth and tonic lime. Relinquishing. Breast cancer pain patch. Almost fainting in the dining room. The floor starts glowing, and the walls start growing Corydalis flexuosa. The guest of honor sticks a fork into a plate of cooked monkey brains, and the host shouts, "Don't make this weird! Stop being so derivative!" Low potassium, shortness of breath, looking at your aging hands. If you won't retire, go ahead and reserve a cemetery plot. Why is your mouth muzzled from telling the world that you're not as great as they think you are? What I would give to see donkeys chase after baseballs in the outfield again. Let's rewind time so I can remember the feeling of your pubes against mine. Or why don't we go find love in the words of poor BB? Why do the cries of katydids make me teary-eyed this time around? Well, it looks as if you miss your Georgia mom something fierce, don't it? Ivy Jade Edwards painting where people are pinky up orgy fucking in a mid-century modern living room. Disturbed Kubrick stares are aimed at you, the voyeur perspective. I'm stopped by a man on a bike trying to sell magic magnetic Christian stones and good fortune. My parents spend hours by the garden eating prescription banana pudding. Blue rapture leaves above them are covered in kiwi fruit syrup again, and I forgot that a wet blunt roach was tucked behind my ear this whole time. Fast forward, you're taking a baby chick out of an igloo ice cooler so that the body has some time to thaw a little bit before you eventually start to pull out its skeleton and reorient the body with metal wire. Faraway sights are white plasma sky roots and high volume ear cracks. A Boeing C-17 Globemaster III is spotted. Then you hear the fierce rampage of bullets. Finally, storm drops hit the ground. Get on now. Run like hell is real. Okay. So this one is a little funnier, kind of not. It was inspired by, I talked to Little Tank on Twitter, and I talked to him about changing a tire during the eclipse, and he was like, "You should write about it." I'm like, okay. And I did. I wrote fucking almost like 500 words on it. But then the other stuff is like, I don't know, weird shit that I wrote about after I found the thing and watched the thing. This piece is called Mangina Afterbirth. Sorry, my friend gave me a look. Okay. The sun enveloped by storm clouds, small dark dots forming on my shirt, chewed up $1 bills in a Ziploc, Pyramids Grill and Buffet, apple whiskey, coated throat, barrel-aged fire. A tall woman from Vienna traveling with her father to the States, cozies her palm under her underwear while listening to Yugoslavic punk, Alter Ego. After an evening in the park with a bottle filled 3/4 with white wine and 1/4 of spritzer, I feel the way my skin is supposed to feel. Tight. During the solar eclipse, I discovered that my front passenger seat tire was flat, so I called my dad to come over and help me put my spare donut in its place. The tire on my car was flat because I'd been swerving into curbs to try and park as close as possible to the edge of the street for fear of getting a ticket and fear of being taken out by a reckless driver. When I went outside and noticed a new filter in my vision, I drove my car forward, thinking about the last time I had a flat tire, which was in Mississippi after I ran over a pile of screws, and before that in the McDonald's drive-thru because some homeless people with knives can't take no for an answer. But I hear now how flat my tire is, and I know there's a gash somewhere. The tire is rimmed with scrapes, but I parked my car in front of the driveway of an empty house across the street where an old philosophy professor used to live. I recommended she read Guattari. She recommended Murdoch, if I recall. By this time, my dad pulls up in his, oh, I forgot. It was either like a, fucking, I don't know, my dad drives, in his truck. In his truck, and I bring out my jack and my broken down cardboard boxes so we can kneel on the ground, and my dad hugs me and asks me if I'm okay, and I say I am okay. We look at the tire, and my dad assigns me the job of raising the jack while he loosens the bolt on the car. I finish jacking up the car, but my dad is on both knees getting the last bolt off, the unique bolt specific to each car. And as I'm looking at my dad's sweat, the eclipse is finally in totality. The moon is as in front of the sun as it will get for years to come. And I tell my dad this, hey dad, I think we're at totality. The air around is tinted. My dad responds, it appears that way. Did you block your aunt on Facebook? The shock of the question hit me. Yeah, I did. The same aunts I spent so many summers with, the aunt who could take a punch, the aunt who goes to Africa a lot for some Christian reason. Yeah, Dad, I blocked them. My dad looked at me, taking a breath. If it makes you feel better, most families are like this. I nod my head. My dad says, she can't be drinking like that and trying to be in our lives. It's been years. Nothing's changed. I nod and my dad changes the subject. Could you hand me the donut? I go get the spare tire, and as I watch my dad's shadow on the ground, I realize my dad's butt crack is hanging out. I finally crack a crescent smile, and me being the smartass I am, I tell him, I think you can actually see the moon right now, which prompts my dad to turn around and say, I don't think you're supposed to look directly at the eclipse. And I respond, I know, Dad. And my dad looks back at the tire and says, could you hand me the lug wrench again? And after I wipe the sweat from my face, I scan the world around me in altered colors, and I say back, sure, Dad. Sharp ice cutting the inside of your windpipe. My asshole is so raw, I'm surprised there's not a Hell in a Cell match going on down there. The shame that Satan bears for all mankind. Flashing your headlights at oncoming traffic is like a tee-hee ha-ha joke, but then you get pulled over. Marathon straining the brain, and then staying the same. Fucking Austria, Fugen Austria. German dub 2.5 Men. Compromised afflictions. Promises of compassion. Don't forget to pick up your boss at Steve's Auto Shop. Carnifex, Slit Wrist Savior. Upper management cookie cutters. If on your journey you should encounter God, God will be cut. Hattori Hanzo, Kill Bill Volume 1, 2003. Only thoughts of violence and white risers, unexplained skin flaps. A line of kids at the Fingertips Enrichment Center. I remember my wedding receipts. Shit still gives me nightmares. Light green plastic bag that says, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. To avoid danger of suffocation. When her mother started to go, when she started saying, help me, please help me, that's when they switched from oxycodone to morphine. And well, a few minutes later, she was unconscious, but everybody got to say their goodbyes. You always should say your goodbye. Arlington, woo. Arlington is a synonym for uniformity. Linked fences painted a fainted beige. I was really good at doing these really offensive Chinese accents in first grade. Like during lunch, I'd be at the table saying shit like Chin Wang Gama Lu Waka Laka Niu, and I never got in trouble for doing them. You remember that kid you used to play with on the playground? His mom passed away. Liver failure. I never knew her drinking was like that. I mean, when we traveled together, sure, but they say the most painful way you can die is cirrhosis of the liver. Fiction writing is like a bunch of words that look like a nature scene, which acts like an animal torn into multiple parts, which is like a mix of tiny bubbles in a pile of spit. And that's I am the angel of diseased meat. I am the angel of sea drifting carcass, of a sea drifting carcass. I am the angel of forsaken fruit. I am the angel of animals eating to survive. I am the angel of unworthy praise. I am the angel of risky retribution. I am the angel of swallowing regret. I am the angel for all men, dejected, J.A. And that's it.
Holy shit, Colton. Holy shit. The last piece, both of these pieces are fantastic, but that last fucking piece blew me away. I love the eclipse story, and I love the way you've nested it within this larger mosaic of pieces. First of all, like the entire way that eclipse story is structured is so fantastic because, like, it so perfectly captures the experience of like having your mundane life be interrupted by something profound, like something of like real, like intense spiritual significance, and like being caught in that like limbo state between the two, right? Like at the one point, like on one level, like wanting to give your attention to this thing, this like sublime, irrational thing that's happening. And on the other hand, to be like, no, I gotta fix a fucking flat tire on my car. And the way that progresses is beautiful though. It's fucking beautiful because it's not simply as if like the eclipse happens and you're too distracted to notice. Like that would be like the simple way to tell that story. But instead it actually like brings out this feeling in you that then leads to this like wonderful sweet little moment with your dad that's only half acknowledged, but that's like felt by the reader, I think, in a really profound and wonderful way. So that moment isn't completely lost, you know, that and that sense of like spiritual meaning or whatever that's supposed to be conveyed by the eclipse isn't in fact totally lost. And then the way you take that story, that like sweet little story, and then nest it in this larger mosaic of pieces, the way that you always do, like really further enriches it. And what I love about this piece, like some of your pivots here, the contrast between some of your stanzas is fucking sublime. Like, first of all, the plastic bag stanza is fucking incredible. And I know all you did was take one of those like plastic takeout bags that says thank you, thank you, thank you, and like transcribe it. But like it's something that's always there. That's like that's
It's always there, and you just if you look at it with a little bit of context, it's just
it's
it's just
fucked up. It's so fucked up, right? Like
it's a
the
plastic
fact that it has that like all those thank yous on there in like big print, and then there's the little suffocation warning. It's like it's so perfect. But what really blew me away is the stanza that follows that, and the subtle way, like the help me, please help me of the dying woman, right? And how that like the like how that's just subtly parallels the thank you, thank you, thank you before. And the interplay between this like darkly funny stanza and then this really bleak sad stanza, it's really effective. And then you do that same fucking thing again just as effectively later in the poem with the like the fake childhood Chinese accent stanza followed by, you remember that kid you used to play with on the playground? His mom passed away. Like the way you get at the passage of time there, the way you have this like sure deeply inappropriate but also like very whimsical and funny and cute moment from childhood, and then immediately it's like, nope, you're an adult and your friend's parents are fucking dying, and like the whiplash there.
Lunch table anymore. You can't make friends that way anymore.
You can't. It's, oh man, though, it's so good, it's so effective. um just quickly on the first poem, what, like, you do a really wonderful thing in this poem, which is like the way that you bookend this poem with like war references, right? And there's little bits of like references to like war media and stuff throughout. Really, like, you really that, like, in addition to that, like the two images of the dead birds, right? The dead baby bird suspended in the nest early, and then the frozen baby chick at the end that's going to be like turned into that's going to be turned in, it's going to be taxidermied, right? um and like you really capture like the sense of like nature in a state of war, like really beautifully in this poem, without tipping your hand too much, right? Without making it entirely gruesome and overwhelmingly bleak, but you capture that sense of like eternal natural war that's underlying so many human interactions, and so much of what happens in the natural world itself. Like even the reference to the red clover mites on the sidewalk, like contrasted with like dropping your BlackBerry and the guy getting ejected from the restaurant. Like there's this sense of like this constant like predatory tension and drama running throughout the whole piece, right? But it's just as often funny as it is tragic, and it's not like emotionally one note, and I think that makes it really effective. um anyway, it's good stuff, Colton.
I appreciate those comments. I didn't even put together because those are two separate birds. I didn't even think that they'd be connected like that. Because one, there's a dead bird that's hanging outside the Airbnb next to my apartment, which I think is just hilarious. Like it could not represent the more like inhuman nature of it all. But and it has been there. It is still there. That little dead bird is just hangs there, and it's like too high for me to really want to give a fuck to try like go get it because I'd probably break my neck. So I just have to like accept it, walk by it, go to my room.
Yeah, I think it's been there so long that you referenced it in another piece like 2 months ago.
It's just weird things will inspire you, whatever.
Right.
Like I get dead birds and my dad, so what he did was he did a mouse and I have it. He tried to taxidermy a mouse and it looks horrid, but it like good, tasteful, like it's his first time actually trying to do it.
Mhm.
And he tried to throw it away. I watched him throw it away and I rescued it and I still have it.
Oh
And
no.
got a picture of it in this next project I'm working on, and I want to write more about it. But it's just such a testament to like my dad is now like 63. This is what he's doing post retirement, and I tried to capture that in the first piece with my mom. She had low potassium, so she's just eating kiwi, just like whatever, like bananas and shit, and it took a minute for me to really get it because I wanted it to be tight. Like it's a lot of tight phrases that
Yeah.
needed like flow well and I wanted to start off this next project like kind of not beautiful but like strong imagery, like
Mm.
really strong imagery. But then after that, the next piece after that is shit jerker, the guy that shits and then comes on the shit. So I a very rough start. So uh, and the piece I wrote, dude, yeah, it's been a week, man. And it was just too perfect that I actually had to block my aunts, and it was also the eclipse week. But I don't know. I wrote way more than I thought I was gonna write on it. But I appreciate your comments and thank y'all for having me again. And I'm talking too much.
No. It's wonderful stuff as usual, man. And it's always good to hear. Like, I like to hear about people's process, right? Like, what the fuck is the point of like having actual human beings come and read their work and then like demurely like go away? It's like, well, what the fuck? Like you can read their work, but like if you're gonna have the real human being here, you might as well hear something about their process and what they think about their own work, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, man. Andy's up next.
That was really good, man. I really like that piece. It was really fucking good. I'm gonna read something I've been working on. I read some of it at the last MLC. You guys hear me?
Perfectly.
When I'm alone, I call myself an artist, an author, a writer. What I'm attempting to do is create art. It's a slow, tedious, but heartwarming process. I've heard that the robots have started to create their own art, which would make them artists as well. But is art the pursuit of a greater intellectual truth, form of entertainment, joy for a child? I try not to think so much about art made by the robots. Try not to think that I'm less or greater than the work they produce. A writer writes words in hopes of having their work to be read. If my family, close friends, and a few strangers read my words, then I'm happy and grateful. The robots are taking over the coffee shops in downtown Alexandria and Virginia and writing their literary novels on secondhand laptops. I grab a hot mocha latte and try to write my own novel in a notebook. It takes me half an hour to write 300 to 500 words, and hopefully most of the writing isn't drivel or derivative. I'm not trying to impress anyone, just trying to get the words out on paper. The government is creating robots who are creating beautiful art, and nothing will ever be the same. Everything will change. I'm doing my best to create my own art, my own writing, my first book that will allow me to find meaning in life. Isn't that why we write these words, create millions of possibilities and endless worlds where people can find comfort and love in objects? I don't know about that anymore, but that's okay. I'm not afraid of the future. I'm afraid of the past repeating itself and changing the present. I'm used to falling apart when the pressure becomes too overwhelming or too confusing. However, I don't want that to happen anymore. I want to keep moving forward, keep rising above my mistakes, which have been countless times over and over again. We're all searching for something or someone to tell us we're loved, that we're okay as humans. The days go by faster now that I'm older, but I feel better, feel stronger. As though of age, I found new reasons to keep going. When night comes, I get a little fearful regressing to a boy again. It's me being bitter and exhausted, and I don't like those feelings. I eat less, speak fewer words, trying to listen more to people who are closest to me. I panic in spurts. Maybe I'll get used to the agony, have bouts of joy like snacks, and the clock turns forward, tipping to the next second, and the minute has happened, and I'm so worried about death. Do we really want to reach the highest level of our own inventions? I want to lay down sometimes in a warm pool, tread water, my nose skimming the surface, my eyes staring back at the sun from another planet. I can't see a life without art. Is it something not to ponder over? And yet here I am thinking about life without art. Writing is a gift, some people say, and reading is a pleasure, I say. And editing, well, that's necessary. I want to go back to my hometown, smell the daffodils, clean a field coated in the afternoon rain, let the music play from my laptop speakers, and maybe I'll stop hating the man I used to be. Screens, we were raised by them, and our faces look like the people who have nurtured us. I'm at a coffee shop. My stomach lurches backwards as the chair I'm sitting in is squeaking from the weight of my body. I'm tasting the ice mocha, drips of milk spill on the table. A voice enters. It's a woman with a husky but soft voice. She asks if she can sit next to me. There's no chair next to me. I turn around. There's no woman. I hear the voice in my head, husky and soft. I go to the bathroom in peace so much that I feel free once more. When I sit back down at my table, I look at the people sitting around me. A young child is eating a croissant. Two men arm wrestling. An old man writing a post on Facebook, then deleting it. A group of women laughing and becoming quiet. I watched a TikTok on my phone of a dog wearing a black hat and an oversized sweater decorated with snowflakes. The dog is looking at the camera with his tongue hanging out of his mouth. His eyes darken, then his screen winds like a blank document. I want to fall asleep in this chair, close my eyes, say a prayer. As I wake up from a nap, there are sores and aches in my hands and knees. I don't know how I got there. I can't come back to Akatik Park and drive up a steep, narrow hill, stopping in an empty parking lot. I leave the car and walk along a grassy path, surrounded on both sides by pebbles and broken branches. A church bell is ringing for a long moment, a soft, familiar melody from my childhood, the signal of a change in hour. I eat a blueberry edible gummy, savor the sour taste, put on black sunglasses. It's sunny outside. A breeze wafts through the park, but the sunlight is relentless and scorching. I drink some ice cream tea from a water bottle. There's a dark blue lake in the center of the park, and a long forest trail snaking around it. The bugs are buzzing, the birds chirp happily. In the distance, a wolf is howling, and a second wolf is crying. I take in the sounds and keep marching across the weathered plain to the edge of the lake. The shore is a giant quilt of sand and debris, crushed glass, lopsided cans, discarded newspaper articles. I look around. There's nobody else here, just me and the thoughts in my head forming words for my voice. But I don't speak. I sit on a big smooth rock, bring out my notebook. It's 11:07 on a Wednesday, and I'm still feeling sleepy. My eyes barely open. A stabbing pain hurts my lower back. I do stretches on a pink yoga mat in my friend's concrete driveway, breathing in and out, concentrating on nothing in particular. I wonder why we're so desperate to attribute meaning to a life when we should just be living our experiences, whether these are good or bad or crazy or funny or sad or exciting. But maybe there is meaning to life, something I haven't yet discovered. I'm sitting on my front porch, smoking a blunt, feeling extra high. The trees sway in the wind, skies a baby blue computer screen, an ice cream truck careening slowly around the neighborhood block, playing its nostalgic jingle. I finish a blunt, stab it in an ashtray, shaped like a flower pot because it is one. I'm haunted by the future version of myself. I yearn for this life, something to do for the plot. However, I don't know why I'm so concerned with the linear narrative, but my story inside is a selection of unstable vignettes. Much to do, much to do, much to do. I think about smoking a second blunt, but my lungs are sagging, a certain heaviness, hard to articulate. Ethan's taking a nap on the couch. I'm on the other adjacent red couch, drinking a Diet Coke, watching videos of people cooking a variety of disgusting looking food. Maybe I should eat. I rub my belly. It's getting fat. Layers just pouring over the waistband of my sweats. I'm getting nauseous as I continue to watch these cooking videos. I barf in my mouth slightly and spit it out in the Kleenex. I toss it to the trash can. Soon my belly will be empty again, and I'll be hungry once more. The robots are our phones, the TV, our internet, working as AI. I take out my phone, use it to buy a hot dog from 7-Eleven. I could have driven there and bought the hot dog in person, but now I'm waiting on my porch for my Uber Eats driver to come and drop the hot dog off to me. I look out in the neighborhood, my small world, not a care in my head as the clouds gather in a massive cluster. I'm not competing against anyone when I write, but now AI is making their own writing, so in a sense I am in the competition. Don't know how that will end up. I write my sentences, my page, a book. I try not to pay attention to word count, just going along with the flow of music in my head. I'm listening to delicate jazz piano. I'm in a serene, joyful mood. A Uber Eats driver pulls up in a beige Chevy truck, hands me a small paper bag. I think I'm going inside my house. At the kitchen table, I devoured a hot dog. I didn't even put condiments on it. Once I'm satisfied, I drink a glass of water on the couch, pass out from a food coma. This is the life I'm living now. It's not perfect. It's flawed, very much so. Tonight, I feel like streaming on my back deck in the middle of spring when everyone else is fast asleep, dreaming of wolves eating sheep, count them one by one. I walk out to my brick patio and chug a beer, listen to a sad song, wondering if AI had created the sad song. I am lonely. I've always been by myself. I regret not calling you back after I hurt your feelings. The alcohol is making me dizzy and warm. A gust of wind knocks down my large green umbrella and now it has fallen onto the floorboards of the deck. I chug a second beer, sighing, wishing I had more to drink. These thoughts in my head grow incessant, like the shadows hugging the patio. I'm trying to change as the leaves crunch, and when I walk in them, I'm meandering over to the backyard. The universe is out there, past the dark sky, and life turns over and over like a rotisserie chicken. When I wake up, I'm lying on the grass covered in blackbirds and dewdrops. I stand up, put my feet together, and spread my arms so that I'm shaped like a cross. The birds fly over to me, perching on my shoulders and head. I spin around clockwise like a lunatic scarecrow, spin so fast that the birds stick their clawed feet to my skin. I'm the problem with society. If you didn't realize it yet, a pariah who doesn't know it's stay in his place, longing for another environment to fester and rot. I start screaming so loud that the birds fly away from my trembling body, travel to the long line of ancient oak trees. I don't even have a friend to talk to anymore. My throat is dry and hoarse. I want to write about the past, but to do that, I have to change tenses, delve into my memory. My grandmother had Alzheimer's dementia, and after she died, I didn't attend the funeral. I'd made an excuse. I was afraid of getting sick from a virus that had been going around my hometown, every hometown we have. But the truth was, I was probably getting high. I forget what is fact, what is fiction. I felt like a scumbag. I steal money from my grandmother to support my uppers habit. I would go into the living room, walk over to her bed, grab her purse, and bring it upstairs and steal anything from $5 to $20 at a time. I've told 3 people this story. I'm tired of pretending that I don't care about my appearance or health. In fact, I do care about both these things. I just don't want to do enough to improve myself. I want to be a better version. If I must leave the present and go through the future, that's fine. That's it.
Jesus, Andy, that was fucking beautiful. I love this piece. I love the way this piece is developing. I loved the first part that you read a few weeks ago, and I love this part as well. And I I really appreciate this piece as like a meditation on the value of art and the value of human life, like in a time when it seems like AI and mechanization and like the robots, as you put it, are encroaching on everything. And I love the way that you like open this part of the piece with that question, right? Like, and I love the description of the robots like going into like a coffee shop in an upper class neighborhood and like writing on their vintage laptops, like the way that you're like eroding the line between human behavior and robot behavior, and the way that like you get at that like question of the value of humanity without without taking any of the easy ways out, right? Like this isn't like a condemnation of AI art. This isn't a condemnation of the robots. Like at one point you even say like, well, what's the value of human art if robots are creating beautiful art? And but instead of taking that path and going all in on like demonizing AI, you do something so much more beautiful and so much more wonderful here, which is like you turn this piece into this like ode to the power of human experience. Like the answer like to the question of like what's the point of creating art if the robots can do it better is, well, the robots can't experience life the way we do with the same profound richness and emotional complexity. And the way this piece proves that, like through its richness and through its emotional complexity, the way that it's just like this unfurling of human experience, which includes a lot of sadness and a lot of guilt and a lot of regret and a lot of moments of like pure aimlessness and confusion. And like you get at all of that, like that incredibly like rich like tapestry or whatever of human experience, like the intricate richness of human experience and human emotion, and the way that simply it doesn't like matter if the robots can create beautiful art, right? Like because they can't appreciate the sheer layered beautiful complexity of our lives, and that's where it's at. And you do it's so gorgeously executed here, Andy, and I hope you'll keep working on this piece because every time you read it, it blows me away.
Thanks, Will. I appreciate that. Thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah, thank you for reading, man. And closing out the night. Oh, and I should say, I I slightly wish that there wasn't that small section in that piece about like going to the bathroom and peeing and then feeling free again, because I have to use the bathroom pretty badly. So closing out the night, closing out the night here is Brandon.
All right, it's all right. This is going to be a relatively quick one. So I actually went to an extra step with this. So there's a benefit to clicking open that Google Docs link. So I work at a pharmacy and dealing with prescription medications all day. You get to see that some of them have some pretty ridiculous names. I've been kicking this idea around for a while. Eventually, I thought, punchline. What goes best as a punchline? A diss track. So this is a little prescription medication diss track. Kingpin down in Mexico, trafficking that Lexapro, so you're no amateur, no Prozac, not even duloxetine, couldn't exit Alapram. Solo for so long, you forgot how to sell a Brex, so you rub till you diclofenac. Left behind by natural Celexa, involuntarily allopurinol. Out here looking like an aging baby, looking for finasteride, rejection culling like infanticide. We are not in equilibrium, you're a chemical imbalance. Saw you with that H-bomber guy. Halcyon days got you worked up because you couldn't get it on your own. Sitting in your ambient lighting, you're sounding like labetalol, choking down that Zoloft till you go soft anytime you see Alice. Stressed because you're lacking the tadalafil. Thin-skinned like you need some androderm, you don't even mean what you say. You can't even focal in, bleeding credibility like you took too much aspirin. Desperate like a housewife, damn, might need that nifedipine. Got that red pill in your matrix, popping all these blue pills. I bet you just want a diazepam.
Man, man, first of all, thank you for like providing annotations here, because I don't have the familiarity with like with pharmaceuticals that you do. I love the way that you've worked all of these different medications in here. There's like a density of puns here that's truly shameful. And I
And
do.
layers upon layers, and there's stuff that I didn't even put in the annotations that I'm sure some of you that are aware of where this is pointed probably picked up.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful, man. It's hilarious. The sheer and it does get at something about like how hilariously over medicated we are as a people, right? Like because like so much, even though like the forum here is a comic diss track, so much of the like substance of this diss track is still about dependency, right? Like it's like it's still so much, even when you're just like even when you're just joking about this shit, like even when you're just like doing a breezy, silly gag about this shit, still like latent below the surface is this incredibly bleak strain of dependency and like ugly reality that like you can't get away from when you're talking about pharmaceuticals. Anyway, man, it's a really fun piece.
So I'm gonna
Yeah.
let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish, but the last line, I bet you just want a diazepam, nigga. Nigga. Oh, fuck.
That
This is
was
so.
definitely a brutal line when I thought of it.
Oh fuck! This whole thing is fucking wild. Imagine a society. Couldn't the ancient people have even imagined a society where there would be things like this? I mean, where people would just stare at prescription drugs that were named like feelings. I mean, I don't know. It's just a crazy poem. I love this shit, but there's a lot of depth to it too. And yeah, wow, that last line though, wow, it do hit though.
Yeah, man, it's great shit, man. And that's
Thank you.
it. Oh, sorry. And that's it. I have to go to the bathroom. So, um, this has been Misery Loves Company. We do this every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Anyone is welcome to come and share their work if they'd like. We tweet out the link just before we begin from our Twitter account at Misery Tourism. And thank you to everyone who's read tonight. Thank you to Cletus, thank you to Rudy, thank you to Peter, to Jeff, to Colton, to Andy, and finally to Brandon. And I hope you guys will be back next week, because next week we're doing a special event. We're doing the launch party, the online launch reading anyway, for Unity's new book, Who Killed Mabel Frost. So I think it's going to be a fun night. I've had a look at the reader list. It's a pretty wild one. And yeah, hopefully you guys will come back. Okay, that's it. Thanks, guys.